If you're a woman in your 30s wanting to drop body fat and get in shape, listen up. I am now week 7 of a 6-week fat loss phase. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I've been sharing what's going on, what has been highlighted to me, kind of what I'm feeling, any struggles I've had, and just generally anything that might help you if you're on that fat loss journey. Because we've really overcomplicated it all, and there's a lot of women out there that don't know what to do. So I'm trying to make it less complicated. If you're new here, I'm Rachel, an online coach, helping women get fit, strong, and build a body that they are proud of and that looks better and feels better when they're in their 30s and 40s than they did in their 20s. That's the goal. So, week 7 of the 6-week shred. Now, yes, there's an extra week, because if you watched last week, you know there's actually technically 2 more weeks. So I did the 6 weeks and then decided I would push for another 2 weeks if I felt okay with a bit more of a deficit. So last week was the first week of a bit more of a deficit. So my calories dropped from 2,000 to sort of between 17 and 18. So like I've generally averaged went for an average of 1750. Now last week I also got ill, where I wasn't like really unwell, but I had no energy. I felt just awful, and I had it like in my throat, like here, I just felt so off, and I just had no desire to train. I think I tried on day 1 and it just was not okay. And I definitely wasn't going to be doing like my running sessions, which actually helped from the calorie deficit point of view, because it meant I didn't have to worry about the energy requirement and feeling like fatigued in my sessions. So I still, the majority of the days, hit like my non-negotiable step target of 10,000. I think there was one day I didn't, which I allowed myself because I wasn't feeling great. But I still tried to move enough and also have the calorie deficit. But all through last week, my weight was all over the place. Now, I did reach a point of being the low 68s. So, because I've not dropped below 68 in this whole point. But I saw it. Once. And it's just bounced around constantly since then. So who knows what's going on. I'm trying not to pay too much attention to it. I am cracking on this week for the final week. But yes, it wasn't too bad, because I didn't have that. What I was struggling with in reducing my calories was being able to have the same output, particularly in my more intense running sessions, and I was worried how I would feel in my heavy lifting sessions. So that actually didn't have to worry about that last week. And then I was feeling better by the weekend, so I did my casual run on the Saturday, which was fine. But I actually ate a little bit more over the weekend anyway. I had some things going on, so I ate more. And this is the one thing that I want to talk about today, because yes, we don't want to be in a situation where you are quote unquote good all week and then you hit Friday night and hit the fuck it button and go all out and just take yourself out of your deficit. Like, that's not helpful for anybody. You're then going to feel like you're on a constant, like, I'm doing everything right, I'm doing it all, I'm being so good during the week, without realising that then what you're doing over a couple of days is actually just taking you out of your deficit. So we don't want to think of it like that. However, I want to also give some perspective on how consistent you are being for however long the period of time is, and knowing that a few things or going over your calories here and there is not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you were a failure. It doesn't mean everything's gone to shit and therefore you may as well sack it off. Those are the times it's important to look at context, look at what the day's been like, the rest of the week's been like, before you start spiraling and thinking, oh no, like I've had a meal out, or I've had something that I wouldn't normally eat, or I've had a pizza that I didn't account for, so I've gone 300 over my calories today. If you've been consistent the rest of the time, Doesn't matter. And if you remain consistent, then these are like little drops in the ocean. The problem is the massive yo-yoing, the really strict into weekends of binging, weekends of overeating, and a vicious cycle. That's the problem, not the small things day to day, not the small things occasionally that happen. Even if it happens, something happens weekly, as long as it's nothing like going to take you out of your deficit the whole time, it doesn't matter. Because what we also need to think about is if you're in a deficit, you're already below maintenance. So you've got all those calories that could technically take you up to maintenance. So yes, you also might have periods where you're then not necessarily making huge leaps in progress, but you're not setting yourself back. But you treat yourself like you've set yourself back like 10 paces, and that's not the truth. So really think about context. And what else the week's been like, what else the day's been like, how consistent you've been. That's what's important. And so the other thing I wanted to talk about is normalizing eating around maintenance. I sometimes find this is the hardest thing for clients to work on, because not that it's easy when you've got when you're working to calories for fat loss, but there's a reason why you're doing it, and you're kind of focused on like it's the outcome. If I do X, Y will happen. So there's a reason why you're sticking to those calories and trying to work to the calorie deficit, and it's kind of a focus. When you've just got to eat around maintenance, and especially when that's often a time I'll say to people, if you've been tracking, like by all means, still keep tracking to understand it, but actually after a few weeks you can loosen the tracking, because it's a time when you don't need to be as focused on it. So you can still periodically track, or you can choose to track bigger things to so you know you're in the ballpark. But a lot of women find that really difficult because there isn't the same focus, and it's more about, that's to me where more intuitive eating comes in. Thinking about what you need, making sure you feel enough, getting used to just what portion sizes look like. You know what they look like when you're trying to diet, so it's then creating a structure that works, that, clues in the name, you can maintain without it impacting your weight. You don't have to be on an eating plan all the time, you know, whether that's dieting or then trying to eat more to build some lean mass. It's great to just be able to exist eating at maintenance and having a break from all that, but still focusing on your goals. And as I always say, if you can eat in around maintenance with good quality food, so you're still getting plenty of fuel in, plenty of protein, you're fueling specifically around your workouts, giving yourself what you need, you will find that you will probably, and you train hard and are consistent and move well and move enough outside of that, you will find you will probably start to look better. So, and that's going to be my goal. At the end of this, I'm going into, well, it's going to be slightly higher calories and carbohydrates. Again, from a performance perspective, it's nothing crazy. And I want to just focus on not thinking I can eat more, therefore I'm just going to eat more shit. It's I'm going to keep up with the quality of food I've been having, just having more of it and really supporting my training, supporting my health, my female health, and seeing the impact that's going to have on my physique as well. Because the updates that will be incoming, we've obviously got High Rocks in 3 weeks, then it's going to count down to Athex, where I want to be feeling, functioning, performing at my absolute best. So that's going to be what's coming next. That's week 7 of the 6-week shred update. Final week incoming, where I will be dropping the next and final video in this series. Will be the end result in terms of weight, photos, measurements, how things are looking and feeling. And we're going to go from there as to count of High Rocks, countdown for Athex. I'll see you in the next video.